In this interview, I get to speak with Whitney Freya. I love what she's doing. She's got such a fun and inspiring body of work, and I'm going to just tell you a little bit more about her. She's really been a trailblazer in the soulful art orbit since 1996. She's published four books on the new paradigm of creativity. Her latest book is The 30 Days to Unstoppable. The 30 Days to Unstoppable. Be the Dream Made Visible. That's the tagline for her book. Go check it out. Her online certification training has created over 500 creatively fit coaches worldwide and a community united in their commitment to awakening the creative spirits within, as well as many people as possible. She hosts in-person retreats and trainings for women entrepreneurs, including the Women's Synergy Collective. And you can receive the full spectrum of possibility in the Whitney world here on her website, whitneyfreya.com. Check out her books. This is the newest one. This is her other one. Check them out. She's got so many fun things, a lot of fun trainings and programs here. You will just have so much fun if you need to spark up your creativity. And she's got a really fun free offer that she's going to gift you at the end of this interview. So let's dive in and stay till the end. Thank you, Whitney, so much for doing this. Truly, it's an honor to get to talk with you. Thank you.
Thank
So,
you.
yeah, I'm really curious. Like my first burning question for you is, what are you creating and working on right now that you're most lit up about?
Mm. So in my community this year in 2024, we have a theme of self-reclamation. And for me, this is one of the greatest gifts that our creative and painting practice can offer is an opportunity to really get to know ourselves, to observe ourselves, to be the change we want to see in our lives. And this year felt especially potent, and that the potency would be matched, if I can say positively, constructively, creatively, the more we show up authentically, right? In my own life, my father transitioned just this past November. And then in January, I went on a 2.5 month travel period. And the first month was in Bali, doing yoga and creating my first painting yoga series for a new course that I have just launched. And a lot of it was around reclaiming the me that's on the other side of learning some lessons around the masculine, that I believe my dad and I agreed to do together. And so really witnessing life and the circumstances and how things unfold and the events and the paintings that emerge, with that intention overlaid on top of it, and then intending to encourage that and allow that energy to ripple out into my community, is what's got me really, really excited. It feels like collectively we're taking creativity and our art to the next level, recognizing that we're living it. We're living, breathing art. We are the art. Our lives are just, colors on the palette. And how can we more and more and more intentionally focus on and create what we want to experience into the art that is our lives, while like pursuing, expecting, looking for all the ways what life is offering to us is in resonance, is harmonious with what it is we want, even when it doesn't really show up, in a instantly desirable way, right? When we have these challenges or obstacles, it's like, oof, how is this here to support me on this journey? So that's really what I'm most excited about right now.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. And I'm sorry for your loss. I know
Oh,
that. I know that.
yes.
Yeah.
It's a sneaky journey, the grieving process. And of course, I think a lot of us, especially artists, had these very multifaceted relationships with our families. I know mine has been, like great, and then also challenging, and, feeling unconditionally loved, but then also feeling like the black sheep, like,
Yeah.
when I show up in a way that is whatever, harmonious with them or doesn't challenge them. And, how much did my dad really, really know me? It's interesting. It's a super incredible journey. But yes, thank you.
Yeah, yeah. And it sounds like it was like transformative in and activating in your creativity as well. And like what you're making with this new course sounds really interesting. And that's kind of coming from the birth of that
Yeah.
transition. That's powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. I started doing yoga right around the time when I opened my first art center in 96. And I've always felt like the yoga mat and the canvas were, partners. And I always felt like I taught painting the way people teach yoga, and that it is about kind of exploring the edges and stretching ourselves into new postures, whether energetically or physically, and allowing it to be a practice that provides a level of wellness and sustains us beyond the mat, beyond the canvas, right? So when I was sitting in yoga class, like day 2 in Bali, and then thinking about these videos that I was intending to create while in Bali, and I was like, oh, okay, now, however many, almost 28 years later, it felt like, oh, this is why I'm in Bali doing yoga right at the time when I'm intending to create these videos that were like complementing the main lessons of the online program. And so, yeah, it was really fun to explore that and kind of bring it in. It feels like ideas, truly kind of a la Liz Gilbert and Big Magic, they are circling, swirling around. And I can remember like all the time these ideas of or ways of perceiving, like, oh, that idea's been orbiting, but now it's landed, like now it's ready. And I love that kind of co-creative feeling with the mystery. So yeah, it was quite an adventure.
I love that you have a program about you're certifying artists and helping them become creatively fit, right? That's
Right. Yeah.
so
So we have certified creatively fit coaches. Yeah.
yeah, so cool. So I'm really passionate about I teach artists how to take their art and turn it into tattoos and build another stream of income with tattooing. And
Yeah.
some a huge, like our number one tool is our physical form. And so I'm bringing home the ideas to them about how much our form needs to be this fine tuned, well-oiled machine that can help you create easily and effortlessly and efficiently and intuitively. And sounds like that is really connected to what you're teaching your artists too. Would you say?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's really, the intention with the creatively fit coaching is to empower other people who are equally passionate about, creativity and love to play with color and love to share when there's something that has inspired or, energized you, to help them create a safe space within which people can remember into what it feels like and is like to live as a creative being. We're coming out of this stage where art was only product, and you only were encouraged to do it if you could make money, right?
Right.
And I think the money and the abundance lies within the understanding that we are art, that creativity is like our prana. There is no separation. And so yeah, the intuitive and the energetic, and seeing the creativity as an activation, the painting practice and symbols. And yeah, I have tattoos. I got my first tattoo, I think I was 46, and I was kind of glad I started late because, oh, they're so fun. And I have this huge tattoo on my shoulder and arm and back, an owl that was a memory I always tell this story because I have these powerful owl experiences, and tell the story of how I searched way back in 2009, who is the goddess of art, after this collage came up with a lot of divine feminine, and it was Athena. And I'd been
Mm.
painting owls for like a year straight, like couldn't paint anything else. And so whenever I told that story, I'd point to my left shoulder, like, and who does Athena have on her shoulder? Always an owl. And I'd point to this left shoulder. And then it was like, oh yeah, I have an owl tattoo, like wrapping around, hugging my left shoulder. And we happen to have a new tattoo artist in the county.
Oh,
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. So
They're
I love that
powerful symbols.
intersection, the weaving together of life and art, and the physical and the non-physical and symbolic and all that.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell me what you feel like the the new paradigm of creativity is, because I know you have some really interesting ideas and concepts around this. And I'm interested in this whole series of really like how can we think about how to shift out of the old paradigm, like this, like when you're talking about it, the starving artist, like we need to make money with our art, and or we need to figure out a way to, I don't know, there's lots of things around this.
Yeah.
I want to know how what you think about this shift, because I feel it happening and you're
Yeah.
real tuned into this. So go for it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I feel like we're like rebuilding the whole foundation, right? And clearly, as long as humanity's been around, and we've had symbols, and we've created, and we've made our mark, right? And we've used symbols as a way of knowing, as a way of connecting to the mystery, to the invisible realms. And so the foundation that we're kind of bringing back or recreating is this foundation that we are creative beings, that life is meant to be lived as art. We're life artists. We're creating our reality in each and every moment. And the only question is if we're doing with or without awareness, which I got that and it's almost like which came first, chicken or the egg, but the Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, in the foreword, he talks about his Toltec heritage, and that the word for human was artist. And when
Mhm.
I read that again, I pulled the book out, and I was just like, this is so connected to what we're all doing, those of us that are, get activated and energized by this subject. So life is actually not meant to be a rat race or a big to-do list, or something, to check off. It is meant to be art. And we've been disempowered in that way. And I believe we're infinite beings. We've got nothing but time, and there are no victims. We chose to give away our creative superpowers so that we could take it back. So it could be like, oh, that's what the world ends up looking like when we are walking around saying, oh, I'm not creative, I can't even draw a straight line, right? We learn through contrast. So
Yeah.
right now we're reclaiming this inherent creativity of who we are that has been completely conditioned out of us and made into a product and put on a pedestal. And so when you understand that the value of what you're actually offering, whether it's a painting that you're selling in the gallery, or a sculpture, an experience, or a song, or whatever, is that this art piece is going to resonate with the person that purchases it. And the resonance is there to activate, to inspire, to exist in their reality as like a living, breathing, energetic source. Original art is alive.
Yes.
And so when you understand the value of that, like I had a gallery for a while with a friend. We had the art studio and gallery and a wine bar next door. And anyway, and so it was the first time that I was playing gallery owner. And I would tell people, if this piece resonates with you, it's like medicine. It is speaking to you for a reason. And the artist spent, hours and hours and hours of focused energy on that piece. And the resonance that you're feeling is because you're being called to have this. Now, if it's not resonating, don't buy it. Like if it just would look nice next to the sofa, please don't buy it, right? But when it resonates, that's a sign. And so tuning into the power art has to activate these subtle levels of awareness that can mean everything between living a life, to its fullest and really feeling that sense of what's the word I'm looking for? Not contentment, but like fulfillment. Like I have lived my life. I've lived it to the fullest. I've lived it, authentically. Even if you never lift a brush, original art can play a role in that, tuning into what you find visually attractive and stimulating and inspiring. There are messages there, and so this is what we're doing as artists, is waking up this like ability to see life as art and to receive life on this intuitive level, to receive guidance, to receive our sense of security, and our sense of who we are from the inside out. That's everything that art wants to offer to us. And so it makes it pretty obvious when you think of like the Western capitalist system that depends on consumers, that our creative selves have been disempowered, which again, like, I think it's brilliant. Like it's been a brilliant experiment, and it's been super effective. And everyone here tuning in is somehow, I believe, here to take that back. We wanted to be here at this threshold when humanity remembers, like, oh yeah, this is what makes us who we are, is creativity. And how am I nurturing my creativity? How am I getting to know my creative self? And then when I am engaged in that creative frequency, how does life respond and meet me differently? Because it does. So that's what we're selling and offering, right? And when you have that kind of conviction around your art, it's contagious and it's abundant. And so like attracts like, fortunately.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you for articulating it that way. Thank you.
Yeah.
What do you notice? I want to know what you notice in the transformation from your students, and what I'm impressed. I'm very impressed with you in how you have taken your art and put it together in a way to be of service to others and help others activate this in themselves. And I've always loved how you've done your step-by-step challenges, and that you have those available for replay on your website too. I think those are so cool and inspiring. And and I know that artists are going from 0 to 100 with you. And what do you notice in that transformation is like maybe their biggest struggles, and then how they pop out at the end?
Right. So there's a theme that is very prevalent right now, and you can't pick up a book around anything to do with spirituality or energy work, or developing yourself, any of those books, personal empowerment. You can't read any of those without reading that we've become overly dominated by the mental, rational thinking mind, right? This part of ourselves that is busy, busy, busy trying to protect ourselves and keep us safe in the known. And it's become out of balance, right? Like it's kind of taken over because we've been conditioned to achieve and perform, and the external is what's been rewarded. The logical, show me the proof, kind of ever since that scientific age, the age of reason, right? That's what's been celebrated. And what that leads to is also an intense need or drive to control life. Fear is the kind of the gatekeeper from that place of living, with the rational mind kind of captaining all the ships, when in fact what's meant to happen, of course, is our heart is meant to lead, or our intuitive creative self is meant to receive that inspiration in the present moment, and then let the rational thinking mind know what we need to make things happen. I mean, if you think about survival, right, when it was, however many hundreds, thousands of years ago, when just surviving was key, we were super creative. You're out, in a landscape, and winter's coming, and what are the resources we have, and how can we create that into a way that's going to keep this body safe?
Right.
And so clearly we're not having to engage in that as much anymore. And it hasn't, collectively across the board been replaced by the invitation that is always there and has always been there for our intuitive, creative, love-based self to lead. Like when we create the security, and we don't have to worry about the storm blowing over the house or, the wild animals coming and attacking us in the middle of the night. Now we're here to create more consciously. And so that journey is one that we're all on, whether or not, we recognize it or not. But that ultimately is the imbalance that's happened, is this overthinking, right? And so for me, ever since the very beginning, when I got inspired to do this, it was to help people look at life and live life as artists, understanding and seeing where we have picked up ideas or stories or beliefs that may or may not be serving us, and giving us permission, each of us permission individually, to create the life that we are here to live our way, rather than looking outside of ourselves to what other people say is possible. So the people I work with are interested in that conversation. They're attracted to the arts. A lot of them are like I was, a total wannabe, like I've always wanted to paint or draw, and I create this safe environment. And maybe the word delightful is coming to mind, which is interesting. A delightful invitation to enter into this multicolored, symbolic relationship with life and bring ourselves into balance, where instead of getting that jolt of inspiration, which we all know, like you see something, you hear about something, you read something, like, oh, I want to do that, when you get all jazzed and excited. And that what we've been trained to do is literally like turn to that logical, rational part of ourselves, or the logical, rational person, right, and say, I've just got this crazy idea, I've never done this before, but it's got me really excited, can I do it? Right? Do I have enough money? Do I have enough time? Do I have, proven success ahead of me? And all that part of our awareness, that thinking rational mind, is just pulling from our experience up until now and using that to project into the future. So if you want something new, if you want anything new in your life, right, it's going to challenge that rational thinking mind, and it is programmed to resist all change. So we've been getting the inspiration and then going to that logical, rational mind and asking for permission. And I really have this image of that part of ourselves just being like, oh my God, stop asking me if you should do the new thing that's lighting you up, because all I can say is no. You're meant to ask your heart. You're meant to tune in and see how life continues to unfold after you receive that idea. Do you continue getting the affirmation and the synchronicities and coincidences, and does the energy continue to build, or does it not? That's how we're meant to make decisions, not from this perspective that is like wanting, craving security and safety and perfection, and control. Those elements aren't creative and don't want to play in the mystery. And so that's why we are where we are as a collective on this planet, with so many facets of life wanting to be recreated and wanting to be, done differently. The towers that are wanting to be knocked down and built again. And until we take back that creative understanding, that creative knowing, that way of perceiving what's coming and finding security there, we're going to keep, looking backwards to how things have been done in the past, or fearing change. And so for me, that's what is so inspiring. And that's, clearly what ripples out in what I do, because for me, I mean, I love a pretty picture, and I love that sense of like, wow, this, I love this image that I'm looking at, like I love that so much. But that is just like the cherry on top compared to what I am learning about myself and life, and the conversations I'm having with whatever aspects of me, energies that get kind of dialed in when I'm creating. But life has expanded exponentially with every brushstroke, and offering that to others is my greatest joy. And so they start experiencing that for themselves. They're trusting their intuition. It's one of the hugest things I hear. And the little things aren't stressing them out anymore. When things, go wrong, or end or change, they're not freaking out. They're like, "Ooh, I wonder what's coming up next, like what's around the corner," because they've practiced that at the canvas, you know, and they've had the moments of like, this is a hot mess, or this isn't what I wanted at all. And then like, okay, where do I see what I do want, or what's coming through? And so learning to roll with those inevitable creative up and downs, you know, the law of polarity, everything is here to inspire creativity and change. It's just, that's not how we were taught. And so we're having to relearn. And when you kind of come into resonance with how life works on this planet, you know, the ability to access that still point within you and observe your surroundings, and okay, we can work with this. We can always work with this, as opposed to facing kind of dead ends. So it's a huge emotional, psychological, spiritual transformation that people have that enables them to live life, I believe, more from the place that we're meant to live it. You know, life is an inside out job. It responds to you. So let's really get into that and intend to master that.
Amen, Whitney.
Yeah,
Amen.
right.
Yes. Yes. Oh my gosh. So good. And I was thinking back to what you said about delightful. And I'm kind of breaking down the word. It
Right.
sounds like it means of the light and
Yeah.
full of that,
Yeah.
right? Full of the light. And so if we're making choices to deliberately create intentionally and intuitively our life full of light, then you would feel lighter and more creative and flowing through that creative process. And I love that, feels really tangible to me to be able to experiment and practice being the creator of a more colorful, delightful life if you can practice doing that on a canvas.
Yes.
Like a canvas, like no biggie, right? Like we can just paint over that and do something else again and again and again. And we can do that with our life. And you've just broken that down so beautifully. Thank you.
You're welcome. Of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's exciting. It's an exciting journey to be on that awakening, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So you talk about like the process or practice of painting on a daily basis for anyone, right? And that there's so much meaning in that. Can you speak to that a little more about what that really is like for you and what you notice your students experiencing when they do that?
Right. So I feel like there's an a flow that happens, right? So I don't paint right now every day. I tend to cycle. And I encourage my students to recognize that we live on a round planet that cycles through night and day and the seasons and everything else. And the intention is to get to know the creativity. Like a lot of my programs are, you know, I have the 21-day painting meditation challenge and the Tara painting meditation challenge, a 22-day. It doesn't have to be 22 days, right? But it is the invitation to make it a practice, you know, to allow creativity to fall into those categories of practices that we can do daily. And that if you're coming from like when I started, right? And I had not considered myself creative, artistic. I had never painted or drawn anything as from like 13 on when I opened my art center in 96. That at that point, at the very beginning of taking back or reclaiming your creative self, creating, whether it's at a canvas or in an art journal daily, as much as possible, is going to yield the greatest expansion in your awareness. And then once you have that understanding of the creative practice, and then the understanding of how it's mirroring for you the art that is your life and your role as a life artist, then you can start taking that imagination and the conversation that you can have on a visual symbolic level off the canvas, out of the studio, off the kitchen table, you know, into your life, and begin to live truly as a life artist, you know, to see yourself in this very co-creative relationship with reality, that's ultimately the goal. My most recent book, 30 Days to Unstoppable, is more of an imagination journey, a guided meditation journey with symbols, the Metatron's cube, the sacred geometric symbol, to use that as a yantra to be able to imagine to your mind's eye the space that's created with you and Metatron's cube, and understanding that where we send our attention, energy expands. And so I was guided. It was a totally guided book, and guided to remember myself and remind as many people as possible to care for ourselves as energetic vibrational beings, and how to source our sense of wellness and security from within ultimately. And when I was writing and teaching this, so I tend to create online programs to ensure that I will write the book. So I
Mm.
started teaching it online before the book was published. I started teaching in January 2020. And at one point, I remember exclaiming in the Facebook group right after a call, I'm like, you guys, we're creating like this energetic Noah's Ark, so that when the external world, right, hits the fan, starts to crumble, which is inevitable because things aren't sustainable right now, we can feel safe and secure in this energetic space that we're very consciously nurturing. And then, of course, the pandemic comes onto the canvas that is our life, and we were all just jaw dropped, right?
Right.
It's really about sourcing and living life from within, inside out, understanding just what we read and all the things. Life is a mirror. There's the law of correspondence. What you see is what you're calling in, and you're calling it in to learn, to expand, to grow. Doing that with awareness is a whole different experience.
Yeah. Wow. So much. You're doing so many beautiful, important things in the world and serving so many.
Well, I love it. And that's when we're talking about living as an artist and abundance. You know, you don't want to follow the kind of understood pathway of like, okay, what's working? What's working for other people? Who has the magic pill, or what's the formula I can plug into? Energy is contagious, energy attracts, right? So if you're serving from your overflow, and that's the guidance I got back in like 2012, 13, I left my marriage and a lot of, financial security, and went from not having to make a living doing my art to having to make a living doing my art. And in the process of rewiring and recreating a lot of my beliefs, personal beliefs around business and money and all of that, what I got through one of the creative practices that I teach that's super accessible. But I understood that if I continue to, do the things that bring me joy, that get me to a certain vibration, and share from that place, that there will be like everything will work out, and I will just attract what I need because that energy is so magnetic. And so there are often moments where I can, like, it's almost like I'm given this little uh, zoom out, and I'll try and comprehend. I don't know if it's from my logical mind or objectively what I do. And it's like, what is what? How did this job even happen? Right. But it's really just been my own commitment to creating a life that is as magical as possible, and as much of an adventure, as possible, with the contrast, with the ups and the downs, but kind of like a roller coaster, like having it be a thrilling experience. And the art has been the number one practice that I've had that has like kind of been that point at the center, and everything is radiated out from that. And so when you're sharing from that place, people pick up on that, and they want to experience that. So beyond what anybody else is doing or any formula of success, it's what lights you up. Like, what is it that just gets you, like, so jazzed? And how can you share it with others? How can you bring people in to that process? I've always been fascinated by seeing other people's creative processes and sharing that, um, and the journey that you go on, with every creation is incredible. So for me, sharing all of that has been a huge joy, and that ripples out, and
Mm.
and and I'm fully aware that the creative practice that I offer is there to create that kind of inner dialogue, that connection for people on their own. It's not about learning from anybody else. It's about accessing and creating a practice where you can receive your own highest wisdom. And so people that are interested in accessing that and living life that way have been generous and saying yes and entering into my spaces. So, yeah, I mean, you've got to be in love with what you're doing.
So
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
So how you're so generous that you have gifted our audience with access to an incredible meditation and so much more. It seems so much more. So would you like to share what that is, and then we can connect them and
Ah,
then
absolutely. Yeah, so I created a three-part video workshop series presentation to share with you the three abundance mindset shifts that I made kind of during that time I referred to, that 2012 to 2014. And, I offer it as a model. I believe what I was offered and accepted as my news story is very applicable to everybody. But also just being made aware, that our relationship and the energy around like the words business and money and all of that is really important. And I did not have a good relationship around those words. I didn't want to be like what I had observed as the people that do, business and money and goals and breakdown and monthly financial goals and all that stuff. I was just like, this is my soul's work. This is not spreadsheet material. And I still don't really track any monetary anything spreadsheet wise. And what I did was go through and really get to know kind of what I wanted and what seemed to be working, and learning along the way. And so in that video workshop, I offer these three mindset shifts that I believe anyone can use to really create abundance, including the fact that money is energy. And as a member of this human family right now, with all the problems that there are to be solved, right? Problem solving is creativity. And everything wants, the entire earth and the universe wants us to remember how to look at the problems and get excited about the potential solutions rather than going down the rabbit hole of, we're doomed and, fear and us versus them. So our work as artists has never been so important, and it wants to be supported. And it needs to be sustainable. Like as a human being, you need money to pay the bills. And so, if you've got an inner dialogue that is still getting triggered with that, starving artist or art isn't valuable, it's up to you and nobody else to recreate that story. So what I offer, I know will support your journey in that way, and hopefully strap rocket boosters to you, magnetizing everything you need to do your heart's work, because we need it right now.
thank you, Whitney. Thank you, thank you, thank you. What an incredible resource. That's amazing. Well, and just everyone watching, go check out. You have a YouTube channel. You're thriving on Instagram and Facebook, and your website is such a fun place to hang out too.
Yeah.
So fun. And there's so many cool offerings at all different price points, which is
Yeah.
really, really cool. So no matter where you're starting in your journey, connect with Whitney and start somewhere, because it's so fun to be in your world. Whitney, thank you so much for joining. I'm so honored. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Justine, for creating this space. I can already feel the kind of snap, crackle, pop that the inspiration it's going to ignite in others. So thank you so much.
Yeah, truly an honor. Thank you.